Do you think the audience is going to think I'm weird if I'm drinking like coffee out of a straw on camera? Well, this is liquor. The coffee. This is the vodka, but I put an ice cube in here so it looks like water.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to Property Management Uncensored. I am Phil Kazmierczak along with Samantha McKinney. Today's episode is entitled Tenants or Tensions, Dodging Dramas and Building Better Bonds. Let's try dodging.
Say it again.
I know. Dodging dramas and building better bonds. Wow. So it's all about tenants today.
Okay.
Tell me about tenants. She's like,
What
no,
do you
I don't want
want me
to.
to say?
I don't want to. So how do you build good tenant relationships? What do we do to build a good tenant relationship starting from the beginning? That first rental inquiry.
Skin to skin contact. No, I'm just joking, but that's
You got to coddle them is what you're saying, correct?
yeah. Yes. No, but you introduce yourself. I guess you make a connection with them somehow.
Right. And everything is electronic right now, so it's really not personable.
Yeah, it's hard to have a connection or to have like that personalization until you're one-on-one with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everything's robotic.
Right. It's all the automated emails and schedule this on my calendar, which works out great, by the way.
I'm happy with it. I'm stressed. I'm a little stressed.
Because it's so much easier for people to schedule showings now. So instead of going back and forth with, hey, are you available at this time? Then it takes them a day to respond. Oh, well, that time's already booked. So how about this time? And back and forth and back and forth. Now they can just schedule directly on your calendar via Gmail. You don't need to use Calendly or anything like that, but that's a feature of Gmail. And that saves so much time and aggravation probably on our part and their part. So it's working out for them easily.
And I think I've only been stood up once since.
They scheduled it on their own.
Hallelujah.
They took the initiative to do it, which means they're showing up. And they can cancel and you get a little notification.
Tell me why the one that I did get stood up was out in Hampton.
Of course it was.
Over an hour away.
It's not going to be the one 5 minutes away.
On the day I was supposed to be off.
Oh, the one on Wednesday.
Yes. Like it would happen like that to me.
Did I know that? I probably wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I told you.
I wasn't paying attention.
I'm sad about it.
That's fine. What do you think we do that sets us apart from other property management companies when it comes to tenant relations?
So I know that it's hard to be personable, but one thing that we don't do is we don't use the self-showing lockboxes. Like even though everything is online and communication is via email only, you still get to meet a person
right
at some point. And so, I guess we can still seem like a scam, but I guess it's less scammy. It's more personable. It's, you have a face to a name, and, statistics show that if you have a face to a name and that you can put to a person, that you guys have better relations and the longevity of
Absolutely.
time, so.
And there's a lot of companies out there using self-showing lockboxes, and I'm not going to knock it because it's more efficient, it's more cost effective, but we still want people to remind people that there is a person behind the process. And we want them to realize that we are a real company. We're not a scam. Because when we were doing the email scheduling, back and forth, occasionally we would get an email that'd be like, oh, why can't I call in? This must be a scam. It's like, no, because we don't want to answer the same question all day long. We actually have to have time to do our jobs.
Is it terrible that if they were like, call me just so I know it's not a scam? I'm like, no. Yeah, you can meet me.
Yeah, you meet me at the property.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We did have an applicant, and I can't say who it was because it was someone very high profile. That was a tenant. And I saw the name. I recognized the name. I saw the job title, and I was like, okay. So I did have her send me a selfie of her holding up a paper with today's date, with that day's date on it.
I don't know about that.
I know. I'll tell you offline.
Okay. Was it recent?
It was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I think I was doing leasing myself, so it must have been before you, or maybe right after you started. I can't remember.
Okay.
Could remember.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me
I'll tell you
later.
about that story offline because it's someone of high profile, and we don't breach tenant confidentiality, so I have to do that. Communication when it comes to work orders. This is huge because if a tenant is going to be angry, it's going to be over a work order.
Yes.
Just almost knocked over the mic stand. I got excited. We have a tenant currently that the most minor inconvenience, she demands a rent credit. Demands.
Is that the same one from last week?
Yes.
Okay.
It is the same one from last week. It doesn't matter what it is. This case happened to be a water heater issue, which was replaced a couple days later, but everything has to be done within that same day. And that's just not realistic, especially when you put the work order in at like 5 on a Friday.
Yeah. I mean, I've hobo bath before. Like, we can't have it. And I try to look at things, from my reasonable point of view, like could I, and would I, be able to, and that was, I think we did a good job there.
We did fine.
Yeah, I think we did.
It was
fine.
not good enough for her.
No, nothing ever is. You know what? Nothing ever is.
No, well, the issue with that one.
You can't please everybody.
With that one, she wanted to put in notice after the 60-day period had expired. So she was within her 60 days of her lease renewal. So the lease had already renewed. She had signed the renewal, and then she wanted to take it back. And we were like, no. So since then, she has been angry.
Yeah.
So that's what it is on that one. But
I also sometimes like to throw fits when I don't get my way.
I know. Me too, but I've done better at it, I think, most of the time.
Who told you that?
Me. You always get an A when you grade your own paper.
Oh, that's good to know.
Always. Do you remember in school, like when you like high school or something, where you would grade your own papers? Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Or,
and I have a guilty conscience.
I know, you're telling yourself all the time. Or the teacher would make you pass it to the person behind you, and you would grade the person in front of you. But if you were best friends with those people around you, because of course you're sitting with people you like, you're going to do great.
We were different kids growing up. I was also the kid that, if somebody was like, hey, let me see, I'd, show them my answers because I studied.
Oh.
And you'd be like, oh, I studied. You're not getting
Oh, you're not getting my answers.
You lied about getting the right ones anyways.
But if I had studied. No, I was a good student. I was really good until college. Then I didn't care.
It has to be so easy these days to get away with.
Life lesson. A students end up working for C students.
We have AI now.
I know. Oh my gosh. I got an email today. And Gemini, part of Gmail, auto responded like 3 different options on how I could respond to that email. I'd never noticed that feature before.
I didn't know they had that either, but I want to bring up how yesterday, really quick, you typed in something to AI and you were like, I need you to make this nice. And you were sitting there and you were like, what the shit? You were like, I needed it to be nicer.
Oh,
you
yeah.
were like, this is...
It was a text message to the boss responding to something. And I was like, this is way too direct. He's going to be so angry if I send this. And I put it into ChatGPT and I was like, make this nice, which was my favorite prompt. And it did not make it nice. It made it more direct. And I was like,
was it to begin
no,
with?
it wasn't mean. It was just, hey, this is what happened. Like that's all it was. And I was
That's
like,
funny.
Yeah. Oh, that could have got me in trouble. Could have got me in a lot of trouble. The renewal period is another time where we're actually reaching out to the tenants because we're going to send them that lease. They're going to respond with questions. And I think the biggest thing that separates us from other companies when it comes to any type of communication is the speed at which we respond.
Yes.
Other companies, days, if you get a response at all. And we're minutes to hours. Always by the same business day. Yeah, if you email.
If you email us.
Yeah. I will tell you, my voicemails have gone down significantly because my voicemail does say, hey, if you're a tenant, you need to email tenant.support@atlanticsir.com because phone calls will not be responded to.
Yes.
It's for everyone's protection. It's for our protection. It's for their protection. And in case it's in regarding something legal, a late fee, late rent, something like that, we want to have a paper trail. And the attorney's like, please have a paper trail.
I just tell them that it goes to everybody in the office, that email address, so whoever can respond to it quicker. Because sometimes I'm out there from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. and there's just no way.
Right.
So
I know. Same thing with our other, our landlord email address. It goes to everyone. So whoever can respond to it can respond fast.
Yep.
It's great. And everyone's always on the same page. We all know what's happening with everything.
Yes.
I love it. Tenant surveys. We do tenant surveys. And we actually do okay.
Love and hate those.
I know. There's some that are legit.
Feels like tenant survey day, and I'm like, yeah, I want to get shit on all day today.
I know.
Let it roll in from 8 a.m. for the next 3 days.
For the next week. Yeah, and most of the time they're constructive. And if there's something legitimately wrong, I want to know.
Yes.
Because I need to fix it.
I mean, we've learned a lot from them.
We absolutely have.
we don't get our feelings hurt. I think we take it.
We laugh.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we really screwed that one up, didn't we?
Yeah,
Like,
but sometimes we're like, oh, come on, that wasn't even our fault. We literally couldn't have done anything about it. It rained on the day you moved in.
Right.
Sorry, sorry.
we had the one where we gave the guy, surveys were fine. And then we gave the guy a $500 pet fine because he had an unauthorized pet. And since then, every survey has been ones down the board.
Yeah. Sometimes you just can't make it right.
I know. Whatever. So how do you respond to difficult tenants?
Kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
Because one, they can't stand that. And two, so it's like a little internal, like, oh, what are they going to do? Just sit there and continue to just be rude. It's like they end up talking to themselves and then they just stop eventually. So yeah. I kill them with kindness.
I just respond with the facts and disengage for the most part. I'm not going to go in a back and forth and back and forth. It's not going to change the outcome. Like, this is the decision we've made.
Yep. I'll take a little snippet from their lease and I'm like, please read this. And then usually I don't hear back after that. So it's.
Yeah. Once they see the lease and they're like, oh.
Yeah. But I mean,
We're going to talk about that in a little bit later, though.
I don't think we have that many difficult tenants.
We don't. Our tenants are so fantastic.
Yeah, we don't really deal with.
I think I can think of, that one doesn't even count anymore. Maybe 2 or 3 out of our portolio.
Yeah,
I mean, that's phenomenal. It's like when I was looking at late payments for this month on by the time we go to send the 5-day failure to pay, and then when it's time to send everything over to the attorney, I think our delinquency was like $200 out of our portfolio. Yeah. That's insane. Like, our tenants are phenomenal.
And not even, late payments. I mean, even with like how they present themselves in the properties, when we do the 6-month condition inspections, I think there has been one time ever that I had to say something to somebody and their kid just really wanted to make murals on the walls. And I was like, this isn't going to present well in pictures. I was like, we're going to have to fix this. But I think it's all about laying out the expectation too. When I do my showings, I say, just so you're aware, you're going to have to see me in 6 months. And I tell them, I'm like, I'm not going to send an email that says I'm going to be here this day and this time. It'll be a text message. So I try to be courteous about their time.
Right.
And you give respect, you get respect back. So
yeah. And it's just like when we're scheduling showings of the property within the last 60 days, if they're moving out or the property's selling or something like that, we actually give them the opportunity to pick the days that they can show it. So maybe they want to show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, or something like that. They can decline up to 50% of the showings, which I didn't even know about until I read the letter that we sent them the other day. I know, but they can.
I'm still triggered.
I know. But that one declined like, oh yeah, that one issue we talked about in the last podcast. Yeah, that issue is going to solve itself at the end of the month. But we go above and beyond to make sure that we are not like imposing on their lifestyle as much as possible.
Yes. And I think it's nice, when I walk in for my condition inspections or when I show the property, half of them are like, hey, Sam, how are you doing today? Or, some will give me espresso coffees and,
some will ask you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah, it has. Do you remember the one where I only worked here for like a week and they were like, I thought I was getting a middle-aged maintenance man, not a girl with a radio, and emailed it into the group email. So everybody saw it.
I do remember that. I remember that very, very well.
And I had to keep going.
Yeah, so you've gone back, I think probably 2 to 4 times now. No, probably 4 times now because you started 2 years ago. So 4 times you've done, because that tenant's still here.
Yeah, and then
we're selling that property though. So.
I actually had one the other day at Scotchtown. And I was like, have you ever been to this Mexican restaurant over here? I was like, it's my favorite. And he was like, no, I haven't. He was like, but it would be nice if I could take you sometime. And I was like,
Yeah, probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
No one flirts with me. I don't go to
you
properties.
Don't go anywhere.
That's fine. That's all right. And when we do have a difficult tenant, which is so rare, but I feel like they do better once they start following the rules and they get the responses they want, then they're like, oh, okay. I just need to do what I'm supposed to do the first time, and then I get a good response. Go figure.
Yeah, and I leave you alone if you leave me alone.
I know that's exactly it. And the last note I have on here is if you do what you're supposed to do, you don't get violations, you don't get fines. All you have to do is follow the lease. That's it.
Yep. And I say that often during the showings too, because they're like, is there any hidden fees here or here? And I'm like, no, we like to lay everything up front. I was like, you asked me a question, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, because if you're unhappy, you're going to make me unhappy.
That's
and,
right.
I don't want to be. And I was like, I just want the world to go round happily. Right. So.
And everything is in the lease. Like we can't charge anything that's not documented in the lease.
Yeah, and we have a section too. And I mean, it has to be there now, but we had it even before then.
Right.
Where all of the fees are laid out for anything that you can think of, all right there. One section, you can go to it. You can see anything. We don't, hide them in, small print them. So
nope, they're all right there. All you got to do is read the lease. That's it.
And really, I don't want to say the rest of it's not important, but read the first, couple pages. Read the stuff that's at least going to pertain to you, or the imperative stuff in there.
Right. Are you ready to do our rapid fire questions?
No, it depends.
I told you I made them easier this time. I think I know the answer to this first question, and it made me laugh. If you could accept rent in something other than cash, what would you accept?
Plants?
I knew that was going to be your answer.
I hear the laughing in the background, and I was trying to think of something else that I could say so that I could prove you guys wrong. But yeah, it's plants.
I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yo, some of those are expensive.
Mine would be pit bulls or bully breeds. Just take them all.
All Jesus.
What moment makes you think, if I can handle this, I can handle anything?
Every day of my life in property management.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen at a property by design? Like what was built into a property and you're like, what the hell is that?
Ooh. Built in though?
Mm-hmm. I can't believe this one is not sticking out in your head.
Well, all I am picturing is that one property where I walked upstairs and it was older. It was in Portsmouth, like Old Town Portsmouth. And I turned to the side and there was a deer head, like literally right there staring. Like that is all it wasn't built in.
No.
And then I've had like water fountains and like paper towel dispensers, but those also aren't. What are you thinking of?
I'm thinking about a property where you walk into what's considered the master bath and you have to go up 3 stairs to get to the toilet.
Okay. Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, it's not even because it's the same one I'm thinking about, right?
Yes.
The first time I ever got cussed out at a property.
Yeah, that property.
Yep. It's not even, you have to walk into this little tiny room and then walk up 3 stairs to get to the vanity shower, which it's so odd.
Weird.
It's so weird.
What's the sneakiest thing you've done to uncover a violation, like unauthorized pets or something like that?
Gone through somebody's trash.
Wow. Okay.
At Azalea, you remember that?
Oh, yes, because we had to figure out who was doing the dumping.
Didn't I get like the wrong person? You had the wrong person's stuff too, I think.
Yeah.
It was for like another, because I messaged them too, and they were like, no. And I was like, I went through your trash. I know it.
Yes, it was because we were trying to figure out who was dumping all their garbage around the dumpster instead of in the dumpster. So you went through
Disgusting.
I mean, you don't have to do anything. Sometimes you just walk by a property and you hear a dog bark and you're like, that's not supposed to be here. Like when I went to that property up in Hampton, there was a dog in the garage. There was not supposed to be a dog at that property.
Or I know there's some other stuff, but yeah, that one.
What's the oddest excuse you've heard for late rent?
That they're great. Okay, it's not that it's odd, but they had like 7 grandmas die in a year. I was like, like grandma, like it's got 9 lives over here. She died last month. You know?
Change it up. Do you have grandpas or something like that?
Yeah, I think I know yours. Yours is wild.
No,
or wait, you had somebody fake their own death.
Yeah, that is true. And I was going to mention that one, but I already talked about that on another episode. But I'm not going to say it's odd, but every year, Christmas comes on December 25th. So why is it that rent is not paid on time in January? And they're like, oh, Christmas came around. I had to buy presents for the kids. Did you not plan for that?
Okay, but I will say that every year I say that I'm going to plan for Christmas and I'm going to start buying, a couple gifts every month until who actually does that? Who does that?
I do online
shopping.
shopping.
I get it. Like, I get it. As like a human being, I get it. As a property manager, I'm like, get your shit together.
Right. If you had to describe your job as a movie title, what would it be?
Ooh. Why can't I think of the name of it? I'm drawing a blank.
We'll wait.
No, because I know you guys are going to put some little stupid time ticker above my head that makes
Grant is already figuring out what he's going to do.
Slower than I already am.
Maybe.
My job. Okay. I would say like Grand Theft Auto, because you should see me driving out there.
Okay.
How many car accidents have I been in since I've worked here? Three.
2 within the past month, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe within the past 2 months.
Yeah.
They weren't
Somebody
your fault.
told
though.
me I was the common denominator.
That was me, I think. Mine is 10 Things I Hate About You. What's your proudest save the day moment with a tenant? I actually have one for you.
Okay. There was it's not really like save the day, but I had when we managed apartment buildings more, I had a teenage kid who came to me for the first time, and he really wanted to move out of his parents' house. And he didn't have, the most income, and he didn't, quite meet, all of our, checkpoints that we wanted, but he didn't have anything that was derogatory. Like, he just needed somebody to give him a chance.
Yep.
And he was so respectful during, our showing and just when we spoke and, through email.
Yep.
So I decided to give him a chance, and I told him I would put him on a month-to-month lease and we would see how things went. And a year later, he was amazing. Even all of his pest control appointments, I would walk in, we would sit there and chit chat. And I told him, I said, if something goes wrong or there comes a month where you struggle, just let me know. Don't leave me hanging. Don't just come to me, and let me know. And he was one of the best tenants that I've ever had. And after a year, he had all of his payments on time, and, we were reporting to his credit to help him build his credit too. And so then we put him on a year lease, and it just worked out really great.
That was the story I had for you as well.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
I hope he's still there.
So proud. I hope he's still there.
Or he moved on to something bigger and better.
I hope so. Yeah. Because good for him. He deserved
Absolutely.
it. Absolutely.
And we have safeguards in place, like, the risk mitigation fee or something like that, or a double deposit. So
yeah. And, it's, sometimes things like that suck, because you get out of a 4-year college and they want you to have 2 years experience. But how are you going to get that if nobody takes a chance on you?
Absolutely.
So some people deserve that.
Yep.
He deserved that.
If your maintenance toolbox could have one impossible fix gadget, what would it be? What would you fix?
Like a one fix all to an issue that I have all the time.
Yep. What could you fix?
I would just have a crowbar. So, or a lockbox, a magic lockbox opener. That's what it would be.
Okay.
A magic lockbox
You can
opener.
just get into any property.
Yes.
I like that.
Yep. Like some magnet that, even if it's jammed or, the code doesn't work, it just pops it open. That would be nice.
That is a fantastic answer. How do you keep your cool when a tenant's problem sounds like it came straight from a comedy sketch?
I have this little voice in my head that says, womp womp. I am the queen of disassociating. I will you can be, and I'll not hear a single word of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Last one. What is one tip you wish every tenant would follow to make life easier?
It goes, just read your lease.
Absolutely.
It literally
That's what I have on that.
goes back to the same thing every time. It's going to answer all of your questions. It's going to set all of your expectations.
Yep.
Read the lease.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not hard.
I know.
They're not that long.
They're not. And, you know, we talked about how we're the annoying ones that when we're given a contract, they're like, yeah, it says this, just sign here. And you're like, I'd like to read this.
Yeah, I'm going to read
please.
this. I know how this works.
Yeah.
All right. And thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Property Management Uncensored. We'll catch you next time.